I drank more vodka. There was nothing I wanted to do than be unconscious again. Wrapped in black, gone away, I was raw. I felt swollen with potential tears like a water balloon filled to burst, begging for a pinprick. Wind gap was unhealthy for me. This home was unhealthy for me. I'm Ahead of the Curve, also known as James Bergman, and in today's book review, I will be discussing Sharp Objects, written by Gillian Flynn and first published in 2006. This was my first time reading a work from Gillian Flynn. I gather that she's very popular and a lot of people have read her books. I've seen the film Gone Girl, but not actually read the book before. And so, yeah, I wasn't really sure what to expect going into this one, because I've heard mixed things from her. I've heard people say that the source material that she's written, she's got kind of lucky because there's a lot of adaptations, you know, the TV show of this book and the Gone Girl film. So I've heard that she has kind of got, the adaptations are better than her books. And I'm going to go into a bit of this, whether I think this book is better than the TV show, and talk about both, and a couple of my favourite quotes, or interesting quotes, I guess you could say. A favourite quote in this book sounds a bit strange, because it is a very, very dark piece. Anyway, I'll just discuss what the premise of this book is. Sent to investigate the disappearance of two little girls, Camille Preaker finds herself reluctantly installed in the family mansion, reacquainting herself with her distant mother and a precarious 13-year-old half-sister she barely knows. Haunted by a family tragedy, troubled by the disquieting grip her younger sister has on the town, Camille struggles with a familiar need to be accepted. But as clues turn into dead ends, Camille finds herself identifying with the young victims and realizes she will have to unravel the puzzle of her own past if she's to survive this homecoming. Like a lot of people, my exposure to this book was through the TV series, which was aired on HBO, and you can see I specifically got this copy because I just love the TV show so much, and I just wanted Amy Adams' face on the book. Okay, so, okay, let's get into the TV show. I love the TV show. I just think it is amazing. Now, a lot of people say that the TV show is better than the book. I think that both are great, but I would say that the TV show is better. And I think this is just down to the director, who basically transcends the material that he's given and manifests the kind of story and the psychology of the book, which there is a lot of psychology in the book without the TV show making it that much deeper. So it was deep as it was, but I think the director, through the sound design especially, and I'm not going to go into that because I don't really understand sound that much, but the way that the sound was in the TV show, the slight references, not like there aren't any in the book, there are, but the way that it was portrayed and directed and written, and especially the end, which is different, but I won't go into that yet. The way that the TV show was produced is the highest quality TV I have seen in a while. Obviously, yeah, I love the TV show. Amy Adams is just perfect in that role. And I guess, yeah, I mean, the difference is that there are a few, and as I said, the ending is definitely different. But apart from that, I mean, most of it, and I was kind of surprised because of what I've heard, I was surprised to find out that actually the majority of it was faithful to the source material. Gillian Flynn really has a lot of themes, a lot of great writing in this. And as well, there's dream sequences and flashbacks in the TV show, and that's where it really excels, where the book can't necessarily. The way that the book portrays the flashbacks is essentially to the best capability that Flynn could have done in a book, because it's sort of in retrospect and written in the only way she possibly could have done it. But as I said, the The show really transcends that entire part of the book where Camille is kind of like looking back to her childhood, and when she's having these like disassociation moments and disassociation and association, healthy or not, well, mostly unhealthy, but I think that is one aspect where the show really is just great. And again, it's just down to the prowess of the director and the just the writing and the soundtrack. All of that is so good, and it's a great book actually to use as a story, because it's all there. Like it's not like the TV show had to put loads of things in that wasn't in the book. Gillian Flynn, and I'm really surprised from what I've heard. I just heard a lot of people sort of say, yeah, she's a bit mediocre. She's not that great. I beg to differ on this book. It is impressive. There's a lot of themes in this book. The mother figure, there's the psychology of the mother, the psychology of the father, and this goes like back to archetypes. And look, the author isn't. This is a fictional story. The author's not obviously talking philosophical language and psychological language, but the way that the story is told is done in such a way that it's embedded within the narrative and the writing. And so, Camille, the main character, she's extremely traumatized. I want to read off a couple quotes as well, just to give you some context on what I mean about this character. And I must say that this character is one of the most interesting characters I've actually come across in books. And as you can see, I've read quite a few. This one is just really fascinating. And again, Flynn is, the way that she's written these characters within the piece are just great. They're really good. There's a lot of female characters, and of course men, of course. There seems to be a lot of social commentary, and that which is not cringy or uncalled for, it's all fair and justifiable, and the way that it's done comments on everyday life and how we perceive, let's say, men and women, and how they act differently or feel differently. Feel differently is probably the best kind of way to portray her writing. She really understands how to grasp the male perspective versus the female perspective, and how culture, especially culture, influences the man and the woman and how they interact together. These are a couple quotes that I really liked and I wanted to share in this video. I take baths, not showers. I can't handle the spray. It gets my skin buzzing, like someone's turned on a switch. So I wadded a flimsy motel towel over the grate in the shower floor, aimed the nozzle at the wall, and sat in the 3 inches of water that pooled in the stall. Someone else's pubic hair floated by. There are so many points in this piece, and some of them are quite gritty and grotesque, so I don't know, I decided not to include them. And if I did include many, the video would be too long anyway. But there are many times where the writing is very gritty, nihilistic, dark, and it really took me aback, because I was like, okay, like the TV show is quite literally just going off of the back of the book, like in a very faithful way. And I was just so pleased to know that this book, the source material, was really as great as what I saw in the TV show. The writing is blunt but poetic at the same time. It's the full encapsulation of nihilism in Camille Bricker's mind. I think that Flynn really captures the disassociated or even fully aware female in these kind of nihilistic situations, like in Gone Girl. Again, I haven't read the book, but considering the character in the film, it really feels like she understands how a woman might interpret trauma or what it might do to affect their later life. And look, as somebody who studies psychology and who's assistant psychologist right now, I really appreciated all of this. I found it to be incredibly detailed and accurate, if anything. I even talked to one of my psychologist peers, and she loves the TV show as well. And we kind of had this great conversation about all the psychology of the characters. And, you know, the fact that we can have that conversation and it's the book is that deep, the characters are that deep, and you can really, if you want to, go there. I find that is great. That is great writing. That's a testament to Flynn's understanding of trauma and understanding of this lost devastation that Camille Preaker was feeling in this story. Another quote that I want to share, which of course, yes, is another pretty dark one, but also very insightful, is the following. They always call depression the blues, but I would have been happy to waken to a periwinkle outlook. Depression to me is urine yellow, washed out, exhausted miles of weak piss. I love this transgressive kind of writing. Flynn is great here. I don't know how many times I've said that, but I'm just amazed at how wonderfully the writing is composed in conjunction with the characters. I feel it's so accurate as well to the psychology of the main character, Camille. It perfectly matches her experience, and yeah, it's just done so well. One of the most interesting themes from the book I found was the overbearing mother. I would say that it's kind of a family drama, and I think that's really, really interesting. What happens, and what the book illustrates, is how a family can be disrupted, disturbed, broken apart, destroyed by a death in the family, and how that affects each different member. Okay, so from here I'm going to go a bit more in depth into the book and the ending. So if you haven't read this book yet and you want to check it out, wholeheartedly from me, I would 100% recommend this book. The TV show, I can always guarantee that that it will blow you away, especially the ending. It's incredibly deep, incredibly psychological. Yeah, go check it out. Really, really do check it out. But yeah, I'm going to get into a bit of spoilers and the plot. So yeah, here we go. The book follows from the death of Camille's sister, or one of her sisters, and it's interesting to see how the dad, the father, his masculinity was essentially drained of him. He's a broken man in this book, in both the book and the show. And all of what I'm going to say here, apart from the ending, of course, applies for both. Completely broken man. The thing is, I think that he had an interest in Camille. I believe that the dad cared about Camille. But I think because his wife, Adora was so toxic towards Camille, and her entire ethos was against Camille, and rather for Amma, Camille's sister, or other sister, she kept him from expressing this love or respect or liking, if anything, to Camille. And so I feel like his masculinity was completely destroyed by Adora. And so he in itself is a really interesting subject to psychologically look at. The mother, as I said before, is this archetype of the overbearing mother, which is from the death of her daughter, and like you would expect any mother to feel, she was very traumatized, she was distraught, the definition of distraught. The particular daughter that died was the golden child, and Camille was left on the side. I mean, at the funeral, she was pushed aside, essentially. And she says even later on, of course, that she wished Camille was the daughter that died. When I read that, I was like, that is the sort of comment that you never forget. So the mother is really this encapsulation, this psychological encapsulation of this overbearing mother who needs to believe that what she is doing for Amma, which is what she wanted to originally do for the dead, her other daughter who died, the roles switched. But the thing is that Amma isn't that girl, and especially not mentally. She, as we know, is far more mature and understanding and knowledgeable about life than her mother believes. Although she probably maybe even knows and even knows what she was up to. It was only the fact that she was in denial that she was growing up and that she was older, because obviously her other daughter died before she was Amma's age, I believe. So she was younger anyway. So what the mother is trying to do is trying to preserve the innocence of her Amma, to try and reenact that, to try and have her other daughter back by practicing what she did with the other daughter. And Camille, by this point, was left alone because she, as far as she was concerned, that the mother was a failure and wasn't receptive to her comforts. But obviously, that is because Camille was never on the same pedestal as the other daughter. And so it's really no surprise that Camille was distant from her, because, like, why wouldn't you be? You're literally being pushed away because you're not your sister. That's pretty damaging, if anything. And so what the mother Adora is trying to do with Amma is she's kind of got this greater good idea in her head, like, oh well, I'm looking after my children. And even by the end with Camille, she's trying to look after Camille, trying to preserve her, because, well, I think by that point she was already, as far as Adora was concerned, already corrupted and poisoned. I guess the mother has to take what she can get. Adora was in denial of her daughter's death, and even throughout the book and the TV show, throughout this story as a whole, she doesn't want to hear anything that's negative, anything to do with, dead girls or anything like that, because she is in active denial of what has happened to her, and it's a defense mechanism. And even though she probably, maybe even intellectually understands that what she's doing with Amma isn't good in the long run, as far as she is concerned, in terms of her, I guess, defense mechanism coming through, it kind of overrides the intellectual perspective that she might have at the back of her mind, because she's like, oh no, well, I have to preserve this daughter because my other one died and I have to do this, even though intellectually she could maybe at the back of her mind know that it isn't in the long run a good a positive thing to do. But again, this is the strength of psychological defense mechanisms of a mother who has lost her child. We're not even intelligent creatures to begin with. We act entirely most of the time off of emotions. We have to try very hard, basically, to follow intellectual pursuits, because our emotions are far stronger and more potent and even convincing, even though theoretically they're not, but to us they're more convincing than intellectual argumentation. The mother is essentially trying to pretend that her daughter's still alive through Amma. Right, so let's talk about the ending, the TV show versus the book ending. Now, I take it the viewer has seen both, but if you haven't seen both, then I don't know what you're doing. Like, watch the TV show. It's amazing. It's on HBO. Go and watch that and return to the video if you would like to, just to hear my comparison. But okay, so for those who have seen both, I guess the question is, what ending is better? Which one is more interesting? Which one is more dark or written better? I think they both suit to their own platform. Like the TV show, yeah, sure, it could have done the ending of the book, but I feel when you adapt something, it's a good thing to do things in your own way to some extent. And that is one of the liberties the TV show did, was not changing the ending, but just shortening it. Although I guess it was changed slightly, but not dramatically. Because of course in the TV show, Camille realizes that Amma's friend at this point is missing or is gone somewhere, and then she goes into her room and then checks the dollhouse, and there we go, the teeth are there. The first thing that Amma says is like, what, don't tell mum, or something like that. It really just shows how Adora, her mother, has seriously and profoundly influenced her behavior, because I think we can kind of see in the in the story that Amma, I think that half of her is like any average kid, right? Any average 13-year-old. But then there's another half to her that is Adora's side, an exacerbated version of Adora. Because even throughout the story, we think it is the mother. Camille comes to that conclusion. TV show, I feel, leaves you with a bigger shock. It really pounces on you. I mean, for me, I wasn't even sure who did it at that point. I was kind of confused, like, oh, what, there's 15 minutes left of this, and I'm checking, is there another episode? And there wasn't. I was like, okay. And I had to rewatch the last scene about 3 times, probably 4 times. And then again on YouTube a few times. And then read a few comments, because I was literally, I gasped. I was like, what? And look, I don't know how many of you guessed it, that it was Amma instead of the mother that was the killer. Maybe I'm just dumb. But and the thing is with TV shows as well, and with books, I guess, movies as well, is that when I watch something, I try and watch it in the present. So I'm not one of those people who try and predict everything, you know, oh, that person's the killer. I don't really do that. Unless it's really, really obvious. I don't do that. I like to just live in the present moment when I'm consuming these kind of things. So I was in utter shock. I was like, oh my god. And so for me, the ending of the TV show was very, very, in comparison to the book, far more profound in its execution. But the cool thing about the book, of course, is that it doesn't just end there. It talks about Camille's afterthoughts, and also the ending. The ending line is also quite an interesting one, which is, lately I've been leaning towards kindness. Camille had to be cared for by Curry and his wife. What was interesting about that as well was kind of like how, again, that it was a association to Amma and how she was treated, and now Camille's in her place, and she was kind of reminiscing on caring for Amma. But the only difference is, though, is that Camille wasn't in a toxic care routine. The people looking after her, Curry, were good people for her. And I guess that's the difference between having positive associates, friends, rather than those who are trying to obviously poison you. And the last line, she's been leaning towards kindness. And I think that really speaks for Camille's evolution as a character, and also her separation from Adora, because I feel like Camille is far more, well, it's quite obvious, she's far more self-actualized. And of course, look, she's still going through these things. Who wouldn't in that position? But she is a person. She is Camille. She knows who she is, right? Whereas Amma is confused. She doesn't know who she is. The mother, her personality was stolen from her as soon as her child was taken. She perpetuated that by not wriggling out of the past and staying in it, by treating Amma in the way that she did. So I think Camille is a very fleshed out character in both, in fairness. But I think the book is, the book is far more hopeful. Only from the last line, anyway. I mean, it's not exactly the most uplifting, but I think the last line itself is uplifting in comparison to the TV show, because the TV show is just, well, it's not like it isn't uplifting, but it's not exactly. The fact that it is ambiguous means that it's chaotic in its composure, if you get what I mean. So yeah, I love the book. I think it's great. I will be recommending both the TV show and the book to literally everybody now, and I have been. Any one of my close friends watching this one, you'll know that I've been telling you to watch this TV show and read this book. It is, I'm just, especially because the bar was just so low, I guess, when I started reading it, and then because I realized how well it was written and how psychological the source material actually was, I was like, oh great, that's cool. So yeah, I'm just really pleased about that. And yeah, so I want to know what you guys think of what I've said about the characters. And there is more to say, but I I would like to hear what you think. What do you think of Camille? What do you think of her story? What do you think about the book versus the film? Do you think one is better than the other? Do you prefer the ending of the TV show or the book? How did you find this piece? And what did you think of the video and the points that I've made? Any extensions on anything or any reductions, do you think? Have I misdiagnosed or anything like that? Yeah, so let me know. Thank you guys for watching so much, and I will hopefully see you in the next video. Cheers.